Hi friends and welcome to another video. My name is Julie if you're new here, and today I'm going to give you 5 K-pop romance recommendations. Okay, short trigger warning for this one. We are now going to be discussing weight and eating disorders and stuff. So if you don't feel comfortable with that, then maybe just skip this video. Just do what's best for you. I think by now everybody knows what K-pop is and that it is very popular. K-pop bands are winning at international competitions. They have the most streams and views for YouTube videos and just everything. And they all have very strong fan bases, which is something that I can really respect. I like how everybody stands so much behind the idols and how much joy people find in this culture. And of course that has also translated to literature. I haven't really seen many videos about books that feature K-pop romances, so I thought, why not? That is interesting. I'm not really into K-pop music myself, but as I said, I can really respect the music that they're putting out and the fans that they're having, and I still think it's interesting to watch and to learn more about it, and also maybe learn about what's going on behind the scenes, what isn't that good about the K-pop industry. And what better way to do this than to read about it? Actually, romance books are known for romanticizing stuff, so you have to take everything in these books with a grain of salt as well. But there's such a huge variety of books out there, and you can definitely find ones that are showing the more realistic side of it, and then also some that are really the glorification of K-pop life. And both of these have found their way onto this list. Another thing that I have realized while reading these, and that might seem pretty obvious, but it's just something that I realized after reading 3 of these, is that secret relationships are a huge trope in these books. Obviously, because a lot of K-pop stars aren't actually allowed to date, or at least not to officially date people, and that leads to secret relationships. So that is a trope that you're really interested in. I think these books will be great for you. And another thing that I have realized about something that at least in these books is typical for Korea and K-pop is the love that they have for their family and the importance of the role of family in their lives. Of course, family is important in almost every culture, I would say, because they are just the people closest to you, people who bring you into the world and take care of you for most of your life. But especially in K-pop books, the relationship with their family is almost always something that is highlighted in the plot. And that is something that I find is not always highlighted in Western young adult books. But you also have to be a little bit careful with saying like Western books and then South Korean books, because not all of these are really written by South Korean authors, I believe. And a lot of the time it's not actually Korean main characters. A lot of these are Korean American main characters, which is not to say that they are not Korean, but a lot of them have grown up in America, or even the story takes place in America. So I think these books are still trying to cater to Western culture in a way. And as you can go so meta and deep about all of what I've just mentioned this quickly, but I don't think you would want to hear that in this video. But it's definitely interesting to keep in mind while you're reading these. Because that also means that a lot of the things that you learn about the culture in these books is not something that you can take as a given or something that really represents Korea. Of course, these are fictional books, and yeah, just if you're interested in that, then maybe do some research on whether or not that is actually accurate. The first book that I read is XOXO by XOXO. This is a really sweet and innocent book. Jenny is Korean American and she learns to play the cello. She grows up in America and then goes to Korea to learn about her heritage and also because of family stuff. And then she meets Jae-woo in a karaoke bar in America that belongs to her uncle, I believe, and they end up spending an evening together and have a great time, but then they don't see each other again until she goes to Korea and sees him again at her first day in school. And when she arrives there, she actually realizes that he is a huge K-pop idol. But they go to the school together because it's, I think, a musical school, and she plays the cello there and he trains to be an idol. That's also why, as I've said, they have the secret relationship because he is not allowed to date, and that brings some trouble. And of course, there is some drama because of that. But in the end, this is probably the sweetest book out of all the ones that I'm going to recommend today. So the drama isn't really that bad. Everybody is really nice at the school. Of course, there's a few mean girls, but it's not as drastic as it is in some of the other books. And the conflicts get resolved pretty easily and without an unnecessary amount of drama. It's also really cool because Jenny in the end learns to stand up for herself and her dreams, and yeah, that was definitely a good part of the story. But also it's not a really deep or memorable story. So it's good for a short, entertaining read. Next up we have Kosmic Heart by Erin K. And this is actually the book that I enjoyed the most out of these, just because it has a more mature vibe. It is not really an YA book, I would say. It is definitely a bit more explicit and mature. It also has a pretty different take than most of the other books, just because one of the main characters is not an idol or training to be an idol. She is actually the heiress of this K-pop company, and she falls in love with the K-pop idol. Era meets Hajun while he is training at the company that her father owns, and when her father finds out that she has spent some time with someone training at his company, she has to leave for America for 2 years. When she comes back, she has to work at the company to train for when she will take over the company from her father. And there's a lot of tension going on between her and her father as well, because he's very strict. And the group that she is working with is actually the one that Ha-jun is a part of. So they meet again and they end up in the secret relationship again. And this book is one where it definitely stood out that there's a lot of stardom and luxury, so if you like that in a book, this one is great for that. Then we have K-Pop Confidential by Stephan Lee. This book is definitely the one with the most drama. It has so much drama, oh my god. It has all the mean girl vibes. And it really shows how difficult life as a trainee is. I don't know how realistic that is, but if this book is realistic or an indicator of how it is to train at a company, it's horrible. It is really, really cruel at times. And to be honest, I don't think there is enough reflection or judgment on that. It is just something that happens in the book and she suffers from it, but is it really bad? Nobody says anything about that, and there isn't really this kind of revenge plot or anything really that in the end makes it come full circle. It's just she's practically being abused and everybody is okay with it, and her family doesn't even realize because she's not allowed to contact them. This really sometimes feels like a book about abuse, so I don't know. If you're really into drama, then I would recommend this one. What is interesting about this one, though, in comparison to the others, is that it has this love triangle featured in it. Because there is this famous K-pop star that she meets, and then there's also this guy that she trains with at the company and gets along with very well, and she kind of likes both of them, and then she has to decide. But yeah, in the end, being a K-pop star, despite all of that, what happened to her, is still presented as this very desirable thing, and I don't know if I would say that after reading this book. The next book we have is Shine, and this is by Jessica Jung, and what is special about this is that Jessica Jung is actually someone who has trained at a company herself, and she was actually in a K-pop girl group. She was in the band Girls' Generation, which had 9 members, and she left the group, I believe, in 2014, and since then she has done other stuff, for example, writing books. And it is kind of a mixture between the vibes in XOXO and in K-pop Confidential. So it's not very sweet, but it's also not the most cruel one. So maybe this is actually realistic, but I don't know. I really can't tell. It does feature a lot of mean girl energy, and apparently that's also a common theme, that people are pulling pranks on each other in these trainee groups, and they're really making each other's life hard, and just because they're competing against each other, they're trying to make the other one lose out on jobs or on the opportunity to actually debut. And that's also something that happens in this book. And the family situation in this one is definitely also difficult, because her mom is against her training that much, and she still tries to do it, and then she gets herself in situations that wouldn't necessarily be happening if her mom had just talked to her and allowed her to do that. But yeah, parenting is difficult. What I liked about this one was the character development, because in the beginning it felt like she was way more naive, and then she really grew over time, and with the opportunities that she got, and she fought really hard for her dreams, but not in a way that was putting other people down, like it sometimes was in K-pop Confidential. So yeah, I actually enjoyed this one as well, but it is only the beginning to a series, so I can't really say anything about the ending because I don't know what's happening in the second book. There's definitely a lot going on plot-wise. The fact that it is part of a series, though, makes it possible for there to be a lot more story development. If you're looking for a little more depth and a longer story, then check out this series. And my last recommendation for today is I'll Be the One by Lila Lee. This book is also very different from the others because it takes place in America. The other 4 were mainly taking place in Korea. This one is solely taking place in America, and it's about this girl. She's called Sky, and she takes part in a K-pop competition where it's like America's Got Talent, something like that. It's pretty similar to just a casting show, and they're being casted for training at a company in Korea. There's 2 parts of the competition. There is dance and there's singing, and she is applying for both or going to the casting for both, and she actually gets accepted. But what is difficult about that for her is that she is overweight, and as you probably know, it's a common thing for people in K-pop to be pressured to lose weight, and that is also what happens to Sky in the competition. There's this one judge that really wants her to lose weight, and that is also a huge conflict with her mother. And that's also a huge conflict with her mother because her mother is constantly shaming her and saying that she needs to lose weight, and how it is embarrassing for her as a mother to have a daughter like that. And that is really sad and depressing when you read that. But I think this is a great book about this topic because Sky is standing up for herself so much. She is really confident, and she shows everyone that she belongs there no matter what. And I think this is a great book for people struggling with their weight. Maybe not if it's really affecting you mentally, but yeah, I found it very inspiring. And of course, there's this guy in the competition that she ends up falling in love with. But this is not even the most interesting part of the story, which is always good, because she also finds friendship and, yeah, learns more about herself and standing up for herself. And that is something that I just wanted to touch upon real quickly in the end, is that there seems to be a huge thing about K-pop and weight, and I think it's really, well, difficult because it is discussed in such great detail in these books. And I think that can be quite triggering for people, especially in books like K-pop Confidential, where it is discussed that people are only eating one sweet potato a day, and it's just with the exact measurements and the exact regimen and people weighing and stuff. And I don't believe that it's really necessary to tell a good story to include it in this extent. Of course you can include people suffering, but you should at least have some kind of judgment or reflection upon that at some point in the book, and not just leave that standing there. And that is what I think I'll Be the One did much better than any of the other books. I don't think that in XOXO this was a theme at all, and I don't remember if it was a theme in Cosmic Heart, but the other two definitely. If you have any trouble with disordered eating, then I think these books will be quite triggering. Anyway, that's just something that I wanted to add in the end. And still, if you're not affected by that anyway, these stories are great and it gives you so much insight. And even though it's probably not the best representation of Korean culture, it's still interesting because it makes people want to learn more about Korean culture, and I think that's great. I hope you found those recommendations interesting. I definitely thought it was interesting reading them, and it was definitely something new to try out. Please let me know if you know any more K-pop books that I should check out, maybe also some that are less well known. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye!